Welcome back to Programming TV. This week, I want to talk through a client's training who is preparing for Fittest of the Coast coming up here. And he's actually going to be 6 weeks out as of the recording of this and the week that we look at. And he is just starting Fittest of the Coast prep. We've done some other things. He's done a fun partner comp and kind of been in a little more, let's call it like season foundation mode, not off season, but preparing to do more intensive training that you're going to see when you're actually getting to season prep. So now we're here. So he's set up well and generally healthy to go into this cycle. And he's going to be competing in the 45 to, I believe it's 49 division in Fittest of the Coast. And luckily, I have already done plenty of homework on Fittest of the Coast because I've had other athletes compete there. I have a pretty good grasp on what, even though I haven't actually literally been at the venue, I have a pretty good idea of what that venue looks like, the things that they're likely to see, what other venues they might use if they're not just doing it in the arena. Might they go to a local park or like a beach or something like they have in past years? Those are all things that you have to consider when preparing an athlete for a competition. So this is going to be a good snapshot of how things are going to transition from, in again, more of a off-season foundational type phase to more of prep for a specific competition that has known elements to it. Even though we don't know the workouts yet, we know historically what things come up and then how you can best prepare an athlete for those things that they are very likely to see or statistically are the most likely to see. So with all that being said, let's dive in and check it out. All right, so Monday we got starting off a handstand walk fatigue progression. So this is something that I've already had built out in the past, and I modified it. In fact, I think I modified every single week in the progression, but it was a good starting place and, thought spark, if nothing else, to get this going. So 3 rounds of a ski, elevated cat pose, and a handstand hold with the soles to the wall, just because that mimics the handstand walk positions that I want him to hold much better than a heel to wall hold, in my opinion. And then we're going to actually go into this AMRAP. So it's an AMRAP, but it's 60 to 70% effort. So this is essentially just like warm-up skill practice that has a fatigued element to it. So it's a 12 cal air bike and a 25-foot handstand walk for 15 minutes. And again, it's at that 60 to 70% effort. So just giving him some exposure of a skill that is going to continue to need to develop because he hasn't spent a lot of time on it up to this point. It's actually progressed really nicely. So that was our handstand walk, and then we're going to go into a strength squat touch. So I'm going to alternate weeks here, a front and back squat, just to continue to work the legs in a different fashion. He's built well for squatting, so this should be true strength work every time we touch it. So this week I'm starting off, I'll probably do like a 3-2-1 or 3 doubles or build to a heavy single in future weeks. And so I've just started with a 3x3 for this week and RPE 7, 8, and 9 respectively. So building to something that's really challenging, but low volume to get there. So that's the squat strength touch. Nothing super fancy about it. Just, get it in.
That's what she said.
And then I wanted a leg intensive Metcon on this day. And every other week I'm going to be having wall balls. This first week I'm choosing not to have them. And I realized that I originally was going to do something with bike erg, and then I realized this gym got rid of their bike ergs apparently. So we're going to go to the air bike for this. So we got intervals 2, 2, 2, 3 minutes, resting 1 minute between each. So this is a games workout format that's showed up on a bunch of different ways and a bunch of different competitions since then, even Zor camps and things like that. So yeah, it's a good format. I like it. So basically, you're doing as many air bike calories as you can, but every interval you have this buy-in. And the buy-in in this case is 5 sandbag squats to 150 pounds. You can hold it however he wants. And then for 8 line facing burpee, and then going through that a second time, 5 sandbag squat, 8 line facing burpee. So yeah, kind of something that is going to spike the heart rate. And then you're only getting back onto the air bike, which is not going to provide an opportunity to give you any refresher by any means. So something that is going to really feel like whatever it is, like 11 minutes of, it's not 11 minutes, but 11 up to 11 minute mark on a clock of really challenging work. And because it's interval, it only makes it where you can push the pace a whole lot more. Line facing a really fast turnover. And then the sandbag squat, because you can hold it however you want, I think he'll probably just do bear huggy if I'm guessing right. Yeah, those are, again, it's nothing there that is saying like, oh, you should really kind of respect what's going on. It's just a pretty brutal, workout. So that's Monday. Tuesday, we actually are going to be probably biasing the aerobic system a lot more and having quite a bit of just like volume overall and quite a bit of time at higher heart rates. So that's kind of what we got coming. On this first, on the odd weeks, I'm actually going to have him doing some zone work up front. So basically, I'll just probably always write this at a prescribed pace, knowing his 5K time trial. And then, so I'm going to have him build a 225 power clean, which is, who knows, maybe, probably close to 90% for him. And then 20-minute row at 210 to 212 average. Erg power is just, as a smaller, shorter athlete, is going to be always something that is going to continue to need developed for him. And especially like row, wall ball, things that are going to be super important. So after that rowing, which is basically pre-fatiguing everything that's coming, he's then going to go into his first AMRAP, which is all these are going to be at 85%. I don't want it to climb up above that. I really prefer him to stay pretty, they're all pretty high power output movements, but I don't want him to like truly like redline and get into a bad place with any of these. So 5 minutes, 85% effort, 8 toe to bar, 8 box jump over step down, 24-inch box, preferably on a foam box, since that's pretty likely to get one of those at an in-person competition, and 8 deadlifts at 225. It also very closely mimics a workout that they had in their qualifiers, which comps don't always do the same thing that they do in qualifiers, but often they have themes and things that they'd like to see. And, there's only a better chance that it comes out in something like this. And if it fits the template well and makes sense, then why not put it in there? So rest 3 minutes into our next 5-minute AMRAP. This time it is a descending rep scheme, 6-4-2, 6 bar muscle up, 4 a box jump over at a 30-inch box. And again, I prefer foam. Didn't mandate a step down just because that'd be very challenging. We've seen it at the semifinals, so it's not like it's, out of the realm of possibility. I just didn't mandate it here. And then 2 power cleans. Because, I'm not terribly worried about him rebounding a 30-inch box jump at 85% effort after a bunch of other work already. So 3-minute rest once again into our final 5-minute AMRAP. In this case, it was 3 shoulder runs, where it's typical 2x25. It's 1 rep, and then an ascending amount of rope climb. So 1, 2, 3, etc. So 3 shoulder run, 1 rope climb, 3 shoulder run, 2 rope climb. Again, only 5 minutes. So you're not going to get to the point where the rope climb reps are going to get crazy out of control. That's also why I had to keep the shoulder run reps pretty manageable and short, because I didn't want it to chew up a lot of time. So very aerobic day. Wednesday, one of the things that I've been giving to at least 2 or 3 athletes that I found really valuable for them who struggled with jerks was plyometrics and jerks, like French contrast plyometrics, and kind of going into jerk variations. And I want to see if it works well for him. He's also been dealing with a little bit of shoulder irritation in the weeks prior, so this was an opportunity to revisit some of that movement work. And then I wanted some preparatory work. So we're going to have him do a behind the neck push jerk, just as more of a drill to be able to put the bar where you want it, where it's more challenging to get there from the front rack because you have to move the bar back in space. And then we have the actual French contrast plyos and the jerks themselves. 5 sets, 5 prisoner rebounding vertical jumps. So prisoner, like hands on the head, rest 20 seconds, into 5 band assisted. So first is like almost resisted, even though it's not a true resisted. It's with the hands on the head. You can't use the arms to gain momentum. So inevitably it ends up being a little slower and like mimicking resisted movement. And then band assisted. So you're basically overspeeding. That's not a word, but overspeeding the movement there. Rest 20 seconds, and then 3 touch and go push jerks, moderate to heavy, RPE 7 to climbing to 8, and then resting 90 seconds. So sounds like a lot. It's really just jumping into jerks. Jumping into jerks. That's maybe a good name for it. All right. And then we have some intervals, and the intervals I wanted to be odd object and running. So I'm going to make them pretty long in this case. Not sure they'll always be that long, but I also gave him a walk between as rest just to keep the cardiac output up just a little bit throughout these. So 3 sets, 500 meter run. Why 500 meters and not 400 meters? Because 500 is more than 400. And it's also nice when it goes with the 50 foot here. So all nice clean numbers. 50 foot dumbbell farmer's carry. Oh, sorry. I'll make that a dumbbell farmer lunge at 50 a hand. A 500 meter run afterwards once again. And then finally, we have a 4-time piece at high effort. So that's going to be more sustainable, repeatable type work. This is more of a sprint chipper, 4-time at high effort. And again, I wanted this to be something with erg-based power. And with us doing so much rowing the day before and hard air biking the day before, I wanted it to be something else. They got rid of their bike erg, so our option is to ski since we just ran. So 4-time at high effort, 10 burpee pull-up. Again, that was really just like, let's get the heart rate spiked up right off the bat. And, when you do burpee pull-ups fast, they do really spike your heart rate. 20 med ball GHD. Again, that's going to fatigue the anterior core quite a bit, but then also with it being or the med ball, it really challenges the movement way more and makes it more higher power output. And then finally into a 30 cal ski, which is going to be just under 500 meters, let's call it 145 to not even 2 minutes on the erg there probably. So, and then finally, we'll just do some stuff to cool down, 5 minutes easy on that ski erg, and then our hip flexor mobility checklist. So that's Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to do our recovery, one of our recovery days. Throw that in here. We'll do our O2 reload protocol. I stole this from Evan PyCon of when he was at Training Think Tank. I saw him write this, and I've kept it ever since. 3 minutes choice cyclical at an easy pace, and then 2 minutes of foam rolling or stretching between. And for him, I'm having him do that for 5 rounds. And then we're going to go into some handstand skill work. I wanted to start off with 3 lengths of handstand walks. And then we're going to go into a bunch of movement work. So I'm not going to go over all this, but a bunch of like crossover symmetry type work, some shoulder flexion based things, some shoulder extension based things. Again, working a lot of shoulder mobility again, since he's irritated that recently. And then Friday, we're going to start off with some snatch clusters. And with doing snatch clusters, one of the things that I want to see is basically like a drop and a pretty quick reset. Maybe not that way every single week. Like as we I'd like to see the intensity of this climb, and as we'll prune back the reps. But starting off this one, we'll keep it pretty conservative in terms of the percentages that he's using, and kind of challenge him a little bit from an aerobic standpoint. So we're going to do 5 snatches every 2.5 minutes, and we're going to do that 4 times, starting at 65% effort. Then we'll go 70 again, and then 75. So basically a warm-up set, 2 moderate sets, and a moderate to heavy set to finish out. So again, he will definitely be experiencing some aerobic fatigue. 5 snatches, in only 2.5 minutes isn't a lot. I would not classify that as super fatigued, but it is definitely not just like unfatigued strength work by any means. So then also want some sort of a submaximal EMOM where we're having, gymnastics and weightlifting. I don't want to call it a couple because that makes it sound like it's a workout, but a gymnastics movement, a weightlifting movement, and putting those together. So what I think is going to work well here is I really like doing rotating EMOMs. Going to give him a very controlled dose of dumbbell benches so he doesn't get super sore from that and make the shoulder more irritated than it needs to be, as well as ring muscle ups. So we're going to go 13 seconds each. Why? Because 13 is less than 15, but it's more than 10. Wow. And then we got 2 snatch high pulls on our 3rd minute. So ring muscle up, dumbbell bench, snatch high pull at right around 100%. So 4 rounds of that. And then in the skeleton template, I have running, and I want those to be high-low intervals, and then I want to have him do some like posterior accessory and core work. And for him, and as I was thinking about this, I think it makes more sense, at least in the workout that I have written on this day for the running. I want to do basically high-low intervals of continuous run jog versus run walk or run rest. So having him do that, I think it makes more sense to do some of this posterior accessory work first. So we're going to do a glute ham raise, just 4 sets of 4, and a barbell hip thrust, only 3 sets, moderate weight. And again, that's just to keep the posterior strong and his hamstrings, strong as well. So that, again, that's only going to make for a more resilient and stronger lower back. Strength and everything around it. So Then we'll go into our running. So 4 continuous rounds, 3-minute run and nasal cap. I want that to be fairly challenging, but again, keeping the mouth shut the whole time, which is going to act as a governor in this case to really prevent him from going beyond what he's capable of making aerobic. And then a 2-minute jog at a recovery pace. So 20 minutes of running there. And then finally, we're going to end with that Copenhagen plank with a short lever. So hitting the adductor and the obliques to, again, engage the core as much as we can and make sure that he's staying strong. So there you have it. Friday, not a lot of breathing on that day. More so quality focused work. I mean, you got the running, but it's moderate. It's not supposed to be like crazy challenging and hard. And then finally, we have our name game workout on Saturday. So in this case, it is deviled eggs. And it's one of those choose your adventure workouts where it's for time, but you can complete the work as you want. So it's 30 bar muscle up, 30 double dumbbell snatches at 50 a hand for the guys, and 300 double unders. So you can figure out how you want to break it up. I forget what workout that was, maybe 20.5, 19.5, 20.5, I forget. It was like wall ball, row cows, ring muscle up. It's a fun workout. And also the extra credit on this day is super cool. 6 to 9 rounds for quality. And it's a 1 complex with a sandbag, 3 cleans, 2 squats, and 1 carry of 25 feet. Then a 25-foot handstand walk. RX would be at a pirouette into that. And then a 25-foot yoke carry back. So very much like that strongman fear type triplet that you saw out of where I guess that was actually probably 4 movements. But anyway, kind of a fun take on a strongman fear type implement. So there you have it. That is a week of program design for one of my master's athletes who's prepping for Fittest of the Coast coming up here shortly. If you enjoyed this, please share it with a friend. Till next time, stay the course.